Alright, what's up guys? Gonna go for a spin around Bathurst today. Let's see what the weather's like first, just by the skybox. It looks like it'll be a little bit cooler. Yeah, nah. 74, 99. Not incredibly hot, but it's definitely warmer than it is cooler, so should be a good weather to get a setup going in. Usually I run like a 2 or 3 wing here, but I'm just gonna go with the Daytona setup right now. Because you got, I think it's Conrad straight, long straight down the hill, and then straight coming back towards the mountain. Excuse me. So you don't want a lot of wing, but when you're going up over the top of the hill, you really don't want the car to be fishtailing around on you. So we'll just start with this and see what we got. It's been a couple days since I've driven, so. Adjust my monitor. I love this track. Used to watch V8 supercars, still do, but I'd been watching V8 supercars race around here for quite a while now. Only things it's missing is kangaroos. One day they'll implement a random kangaroo jumping across the track. So, Daytona set was pretty good too because I got it to handle through corners without downforce, so it actually feels better than I thought it would going over the top of the hill for the first time, although we're definitely not at top speed yet. There's a forest elbow we just came out, and then we're going to come down the straight. This is where you want low wing, but again, it's a balance between low wing here and some wing over the hill if you need it. I do like the way this car feels right now with no wing on it though, but I'm sure it'll get a little bit more loose when I start driving a little bit quicker. Yeah, they're really good through there, which is awesome. Yep, broke too late. Break it like the 120 mark next time. I was like right at the 100 board. Probably could break it like 115, 110, something like that. Right there, right at 100. Maybe break just a little bit after that.
2 minutes 7.4.
A little too deep there. Probably break around about 75. Felt like more like 65. Woo, getting close to that wall. Closer than I should have got. I always like to leave myself a little margin of error on this track. Nothing's really popped into my head yet as far as making an adjustment. Just probably need, honestly, do 15 laps. We'll see. Here, I'll break like 120. I was like 125 actually. That's pretty good. Maybe just a little bit deeper. And here, what'd I say I was gonna do? Break it like 90. There you go. Pretty good. Probably break a little bit deeper. And up here, break it like 75.
Minute 5.4.
Maybe just a little bit deeper. Yeah. It's had a bad line coming out of the cutting. That's that uphill left-hander. Messed me up for the rest of this section. So I haven't really got a feel for the car yet. It's pretty good through there. It's really nice through that corner, which is awesome. It's usually a corner you have to work on. Rear end will want to kick out, but then the car won't want to turn because the track's falling away from you because it's so downhill. It was pretty good through there.
Minute 5.1.
Try third gear. I think that'll work. It's probably a personal preference. If you want to do second or third gear, I'm gonna try and keep doing third. If I really need to get on the brakes, I'll go down to second. I'm braking too late. Just gets out that corner so nicely that I can really get that close to the wall and not be like terrified. Like even right there, that was like just a nice little slide out to the wall. Complete. Okay, that's a little bit more, and I like the handle right there. Started talking good about the car, and I think I just was letting the tires slide too much through all those sections. Caught up with me. It just feels so good through that corner. Way too late. Way too late.
Minute 5.6.
Just driving like a muppet through that corner. Yeah, let's try and find a braking point for this corner. I think it's just a little bit before that driveway right there on the left. Right there, like just before it. Feels great through there. Oh, with that little bump. So that little bump, I usually just have to, when I'm about ready to hit it, just give it like 75% throttle, and car is much more compliant over it. But usually if you're full throttle over it, the car just wants to buck and do nasty things like it just did there. That was just a horrible line on my part. Oh, and we're way too fast.
Get back to the rhythm. Do your thing.
They really need to work on their black flag system. It's a bummer too, because like an update or two ago that was just perfect, and they like changed it, and it was just the right amount of time lost for a black flag, but for whatever reason they went away from that. Now it's just retarded again. Just lose way too much time for how much time you quote unquote gained. It's not equal. Not even close. And it usually just causes more dangerous situations. Because then I got to slow down at that part of the hill with who knows how many cars behind me, you know? And then they're trying passing me when it's not like I passed anyone. If anything, maybe one car would have passed me and I'd still have to give up more position. It just causes a really nasty situation. So hopefully iRacing will keep working on that black flag system they have and go back the other way.
7.3.
It's wild how good this feels and how different those two tracks are, Daytona and Bathurst. Like, I don't know if you'd call them exact opposites, but they're pretty far on each end of the spectrum. Oh, we're going to hit the wall this time. Well, we can see what the tire pressures will be like. Do that. And that wasn't a big tap, but I think that like completely destroyed the wheel, so that's why you just don't want to hit that wall. Alright, let's see what the tires are like. First we'll just save this because it's legit. See what we get for tire pressure. Alright. 1 click on the right rear. See, that'll get us 177. Let's go up another click. That'll get us 181. So I think I'll like that for balance all the way around. Okay, I'm just going to experiment with a little bit more camber in the rear. Wait, hold on. I'm going to go 1 click softer rear spring. Just see how that feels. So ride height went down 1 millimeter, so I'm going to raise the car back up 1 millimeter. Not actually 1 millimeter, I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to do half a millimeter. Means you actually have to go down on the spring perch and that'll raise the car. And it went up 1 millimeter, but let's go with that. So I'm putting those softer rear springs in the car. It's actually the softest springs you can put in the car. And I'm just hoping they go over the bumps a little bit better, because right now the only spot where the car is kind of sketchy is on exit when I'm full throttle, going over some bumps. So I'm just hoping with softer springs it absorbs the bumps just a little bit better. And we actually did increase the travel by probably 1 millimeter too, because put the softer spring in, lowers the car, you raise it up 1 more click, and it actually does increase the travel just by a little bit. So then that gives a little bit more time for the suspension to work, or more room for the suspension to work. Might be starting to sense some understeer in the car on entry, which usually isn't a problem here because you don't want to lose car, but if you're too tight, you're too tight. Yeah, it's a little too fast, but it held it well. Just did kind of like a 4-wheel slide, which is pretty ideal for too fast into a corner. Those are really good, getting on the brakes there. Hold nice tight line, really good on the gas. Gotta lift a little bit for that bump. Lift a little bit, let the car turn in. Woo, don't hit the wall. And get out wide so you can get a good angle for that corner. Car's feeling really good right now. Yeah, bad line. I haven't got my timing down for that part of the track yet. It's feeling really good on the brakes through here. Nice and stable, predictable. Just a little, 1 more tap. Ooh, nice through the dip. Or the dipper, I believe they call it. Here we're a little offline, but we're just gonna see what it does. Felt great.
Stay right.
I think that change is definitely a keeper. Just, I guess it just created a little bit more stability in the rear and doesn't feel quite as twitchy. nice over that curb, hits the curb well, lands on the ground well, it's nice and supple. Try third gear. Not too convinced of that. Second gear is a better way to go. 4.4. I think for this corner it's all about third gear. Turns it nicely. Got a little bit of that curb, which I don't think you want to get, because it kind of, you know, pivoted the car and got a tail happy. I think ideally you want to get that apex without hitting that curb as close as you can to the curb. Again, I don't want to be on that curb either. Because that's what happens. I'll save that. Check out the tire pressures, like the tire pressures. Work on the front end just a little bit. I want to see if I can get it to turn in just a little bit better. One way you can do toe in, or turn in, is more toe in, or negative toe in, which is actually toe out. But we're kind of getting up there in numbers, so I don't want to put any more toe out in it. That just creates a more responsive steering, because you have both the front tires are toed out, so when you actually turn into a corner, the inside tire for that corner is already turned that way. And then so when you turn in the corner, it's just going to keep wanting to turn more, and then the right side tire, or the outside side tire, will, you know, turn in normally. But because that inside tire is already pointing that direction, it's a little bit better response. But that number's pretty much maxed out, so I'm almost thinking higher tire pressures. Let's go up a click on tire pressures and see what that feels like, because the front almost feels like it doesn't have enough air in it. And if I'm going to raise the front, I'm going to raise the rear tire pressures just to keep them all around the same number. See what they all feel like at this pressure. It should get us around the mid 180 region after a couple laps. Liking the initial feel. Let's see what happens when they get up to pressure, to running pressures. Going in there a little hot. I was able to recover nicely. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna run a couple laps now and go quiet and see what happens, see how it feels. Ah, dang it. Just slow down a little bit too much for the corner. Try one click stiffer spring in the front. First watch the ride height go up. Bring that back down with the spring perch, which means you actually go up with the spring perch to bring that down. You can add a little bit more bump stop gap because we did lose a little bump stop gap there too. So the reason I went up a click in the spring rate is because I was looking at these numbers. They're kind of getting on the higher side. So I wanted a stiffer spring for compression, because what I was going to do is increase this compression, but I just want to see what the overall putting a stiffer spring up front does for me. So by having the spring be stiffer when it compresses, it's going to transfer the weight from the inside tire to the outside tire quicker. So the car is going to have a little bit more of a snappy feel to it in the front, in theory. It's also going to... So when the car transfers its weight from the inside to outside, not only is the outside spring not compressing as much, so it doesn't have as much give in it, so that weight transfers quicker, but the inside spring, because now it's a stiffer spring, is going to want to release from its compressor at a higher force, and again, that's going to help to transfer that weight to the outside tire, which in theory should help the front end turn in, be a little bit more responsive. And I'm just seeing what I could get away with right there. That's just the driver being a muppet. I think I'm going the wrong way. Yep, I can already tell. So what I did is I made the front too stiff. So now, talk about a different part of it, which is the roll stiffness. So if your front end you have the roll stiffness of the front axle or front suspension, then you have the roll stiffness of the rear suspension. If you if your front's already too stiff and you make it more stiff relative to the rear, you're just going to make more understeer. What I thought is my front end was too soft, so I was making it a little bit stiffer to make it more responsive, but not take it to that point where it's going to start making it push. But I think right now I just went the wrong direction. I should probably take spring back out and just mess with the compression dampening and actually soften things up a bit instead of making them stiffer. Oh, wrong gear. Let's give it a lap here, see what it does. If I could just tell on the sweepers, it just felt like I was pushing even more. And I didn't hit anything. Alright, so let's go back on that because it's just not turning in like I thought it would. So, go back down a click, down a click. I'm going to keep the bump stop gap, but I'm going to go back up with the front end where it was before. Actually, no, let's keep it there. Put a little bit more rake in the car, which gives you just a little bit more oversteer, or more rotation in the car, let's call it that. So, I'm going to soften everything up a click and see how that feels. So now we're doing the exact opposite as before. We're softening up the roll center of the front of the car relative to the rear car, and if your front end is too stiff and you soften it up, it should make the car turn more. Again, in theory. It might actually help us over that bump too that we're going to come up to. This car's not a little bit better. Didn't feel quite as abrupt because now when you take that compression out of the front damper, you're allowing that front suspension to move a little bit quicker, and so if it's a big bump, it'll absorb it a little bit better if you had too much compression in there. I really like the way it felt on the brakes there. I like the way it felt on the brakes there. I'm going to taste through there, stable as can be on exit. Alright, so now I think I'm going to go silent and drive this because it's feeling pretty doggone good. Ooh, that felt really good. Was able to play with the throttle a little bit, steer the car with the throttle. Yeah, I think we're on to something. It felt really good through there. Jeez, this thing's feeling like the money. Driver error. Probably just broke a little too late and turned in too late.
Minute 3.8.
Yeah, it's turning nice through there. It's natural for me to have to lift those spots to get the car to turn like it is right there. You get it to turn, you get confident you're going to make it through there without hitting the wall, you get back on the gas. Same with this, confident you're not going to go off, you get back on the gas. And here it's just all about some crazy trail braking, a little rhythm, on the brakes, off the brakes, on the brakes, off the brakes. One more little tap, the dip, get it. Ooh! Aw. Sorry, I'm just having fun. Alright, I like it. Didn't do a long run, but I don't think it's going to suck in the long run. Of course, I'll do a little bit more of that testing, but very happy with that for a baseline. So, yeah, I'll just leave her there. I was going to try and do a 360 without hitting anything, but dang wall got in my way. So I go to my fastest lap. Watch that real quick. Yeah, car feels pretty good. It's through there nicely, turns in. You gotta be gradual with the throttle, but it's nothing out of the norm with this car. Rotates. You know, I was having trouble on entry through here, and then when I get off the gas, but it was rotating nicely. That lap, when I went through there that time. And again, feels nice and secure on the brakes through there. Just feels really good there. You just gotta watch out for that little bump right there. I think it's actually a curb, not a bump. Let's see. I think it's that curb right there on the right. Or driver's right. Curb and a bump, I think. Regardless, you just gotta pay attention to it. Now it's there. Do love this track. It's definitely in my top 5 list. I always like the rhythm of that section 2 on the brakes. You get on the. It's when you find that rhythm of on the brakes, off the brakes, on the brakes, off the brakes. One last little tap for the little dipper. And it feels so ridiculous through that corner. Alright, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to do another race prep video this week. I just got a lot going on, but if I can, I will. I'm not sure about the racing either, but we'll see. Yeah, I guess. Take it easy.